It's 8:30. Good morning. I'm Ian Crouch with Hunter News. The SES has been handing out sandbags as the Hunter prepares for torrential rain and thunderstorms. The Weather Bureau has forecast intense rainfall across the day, with between 100 and 200 millimetres expected in parts of the Hunter. Already 117 millimetres has been recorded at Dungog in just 1 hour this morning. Newcastle, Lake Macquarie and Port Stephens are on flood watch, along with the Lower Hunter, Patterson, Karua and Williams Rivers and the Wollombi Brook. NBN weatherman Gavin Morris has told Todd Sargent, although it's an intense weather system, it's not an east coast low due to the impact of wind shear.
So that went straight over the top of the low, and that negates it from forming. And there's also no upper-level cold pool, and that comes out and sits over the ocean, and that creates a massive amount of uplift. So we don't have that feature either. So therefore, the low has completely sheared apart.
A Newcastle man has been charged with several offences after he was stopped by police while driving in Adamstown. It's alleged the 19-year-old was behind the wheel of a stolen car on Glebe Road on Monday afternoon. Police say a search of the vehicle uncovered cannabis, ecstasy, a knife and other weapons. The man's been charged with 15 offences, including drug possession and supply, stealing and never being licensed to drive. He's due to face Newcastle local court in May. Greens MP Justin Field claims a state government review of marine park management could wind back protections offered to marine life in Port Stephens. He's visiting the Great Lakes Marine Park today to speak with local fishermen and tourism operators who rely on the park's health to drive business. The MP will also ask local conservationists if they support an independent review of the Huon aquaculture kingfish escape in January. Justin Field says as well as the environmental issues, he's meeting with local hoteliers to discuss the $484 million spent on Port Stephens poker machines.
People speak to me about the impact, the social impact and harm of poker machines all the time in terms of financial hardship, housing insecurity, relationship breakdown, domestic violence and even suicide. Those are the impacts directly related to poker machines. I'm looking forward to meeting with the community and talking about how those machines are impacting on the Port Stephens region.
Federal member for Lyne David Gillespie is facing the prospect of losing his seat. Labor has launched a constitutional challenge over Dr Gillespie's ownership of a shopping complex at Port Macquarie, which has since been sold. It includes a shop which has an Australia Post outlet, meaning Dr Gillespie indirectly benefited from the Commonwealth, which is grounds for disqualification as an MP. The High Court will rule on the challenge today. We're being asked for feedback on a proposal to upgrade the intersection of Griffiths and Broadmeadow roads at Broadmeadow. The changes being proposed look set to cost the government $1.5 million and will aim to improve traffic flow by removing unrestricted parking and employing traffic light-controlled pedestrian crossings. Parliamentary Secretary for the Hunter, Scott McDonald, says online feedback links won't be open for long.
The best way is through the RMS website. There is a link there, projects planning they call it, and we don't have long. There's only a bit over a fortnight. We'll take on board the feedback and RMS will modify their proposals after that.
Sport for our sponsor, PRD Nationwide East Maitland.
Knights co-captain Jamie Buhrer has been named on the bench for Sunday's match against the Sydney Roosters after he was a late withdrawal from last weekend's game against Canberra. Mitch Barnett has also been named, despite suffering concussion during the Raiders match. Meanwhile, the club has been linked to a move to sign Tavita Pangai Jr. from the Broncos, with his contract finishing up at the end of the season. Newcastle Jets defender Jason Hoffman says the return of Ronnie Vargas into the starting side for Friday night's clash with Adelaide will bolster their midfield.
The mentality of boys around him, is much more positive when he's on the field. He brings a real calmness to the team, and I think you could see when he came, off the bench even in Auckland on the weekend, we managed to keep the ball a lot better, and he constantly wants the football at his feet.
And former Jets coach Scott Miller is one of the names being considered to replace Paul Ocon after he stepped down from the Mariners' top job yesterday. Miller was in Melbourne to watch the Central Coast's 5-2 loss on Sunday. And the winning numbers in Oz Lotto are 4, 16, 34, 8, 32, 11 and 13. And the supplementaries are 29 and 20. 2NURFM News Time, 26 to 9.